Hello, everyone. Welcome to MindBody TV. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo. I'm super excited to have you here for this month because it's our Mind Body Miracles series where we are sharing people who've done this work with me, who've come through the Embracing Health program, who've had really remarkable experiences, that experience like remarkable, devastating health issues that there were no answers for. They didn't have great solutions, but that connecting within and doing this work together activated their body's healing capacity and created miracles. So here we are. And for those of you who are new, I am a physician. I'm an emergency medicine physician. I was board certified in ER, which is trauma and critical care medicine. I trained at Emory University, one of the strongest ER programs in the US. But I had kind of this other background of mind-body medicine. Your mind and body are connected. Your body has the ability to heal itself. You are a creator, consciously or unconsciously, creating what's happening inside your body and also outside of you. You are emanating an energy field. And so these three foundational principles are really essential. My intention is to create the foundation of a conscious medical system, one that truly assists us all in living in our highest vitality, physically, mentally, emotionally, living our purpose with meaning. And that's really where vitality comes from. And so if you're on board for that, I would love a shout out for you, because a lot of people are waking up to this and are realizing they have a message or gifts or something to share that is a part of these new systems that are bringing people more fully alive. So where are you tuning in from? How did you find us? Especially if you're new, introduce yourself to the community. I have Simon Knockton here, who is such a beautiful person. He came to Embracing Health because he was struggling terribly with long COVID symptoms, what was diagnosed as long COVID. He stated brutal fatigue, so severe unrelenting fatigue in the bed for a solid year. Wasn't really getting better. His body wasn't regenerating, cognitive impairment and brain fog. This is something I'm excited to share because we're often told like nothing can be done or we don't know. And when we're disconnected from ourselves, that's true. Here's the only thing we can do is surgery, or here's a medication just to manage this. But when we actually connect, we get greater insight, we get greater awareness, and we also ignite powerful self-healing. So healing within our own body, or for me as a physician, assisting the healing for others. We are connected. We're not separate. Our body, our consciousness affects the consciousness of others. And so we can have a very powerful and exponential effect on the healing taking place in the world. So this is why I've created MindBody TV. I'm excited to inspire you and assist your awakening. And I'm going to bring Simon on to share his story as we're in this period to introduce the Embracing Health program. We have opened the doors. The link is at drkimd.com/health if you would like to join this year's group. And Simon is going to share his story with you. So welcome everybody to Simon. Thank you so much. I know it can be, it takes a lot of courage to share your heart. So thank you. Why don't you introduce yourself and share what inspired you to come on this session?
Hi everybody. I'm Simon. I'm really happy to be here and have the opportunity to tell my story and to share everything that I've been through in the last year and what led me here. So Kim, thanks for the opportunity to tell my story, and I'm very excited to be able
Thank
to.
you. We're getting a lot of love from the community, so we can just thank you guys for being here. Simon, tell us what it was like before you found this work. Like, what were you dealing with and what were you being told was going on?
Yes. So I was facing a major health challenge. I had I was disabled by long COVID. I'd caught COVID in August 2 years ago while I was traveling, and I never got better. I was in great physical shape at the time, but I just got sicker and sicker and developed severe post-COVID syndrome following that. my situation became unspeakably challenging. And I was, housebound for a year. So the symptoms included absolutely brutal bone crushing fatigue, radical cognitive impairment, absolute hyper intolerance to any kind of stimulus or exertion, many physical symptoms, and yes, also anxiety, insomnia, tinnitus. And after months and months and months of this like mystery illness, then depression as well. It was unspeakably challenging, and so many symptoms. And so, I mean, day to day, what that could look like is I could only do something for 10 minutes. I could only exert myself for 10 minutes. And then I would have to lie down for 2 hours and do breath work. So one of the many pathologies that you can see in long COVID and chronic fatigue syndrome now from the research in the last couple of years is there is this abnormal micro blood clotting, and I could really feel that. So what would happen is anytime I wanted to do anything, oxygen wasn't getting to anywhere in my body. And so when I wanted to exert myself physically, socially, cognitively, emotionally, in any way, my body would ask for oxygen, the clotting would stop the oxygen coming, and then suddenly I'd have this adrenaline spike, my jaw would lock, my heart would race, I'd have heart palpitations for hours. So really, I was able to do stuff for 10 minutes, and then I'd have to lie down for 2 hours. And that was what my day had become. I would also experience post-exertional malaise. So if I overexerted myself, even within this tiny amount, then 2 or 3 days later, if I'd overdone it, then I'd have another profound energy crash on top of everything else that was going on. If I ate the wrong thing, then the virus would seemingly flare up. So I could be making some kind of recovery progress. I'd get some kind of momentum. And then suddenly the virus would flare up because I'd eaten the wrong thing. I mean, that was so brutal over and over and over again. It was just absolute torture because you think you were just about trying to make some recovery, and then the virus would come again and you'd be experiencing full-blown virus again. So you'd be at 30% health, back to 20% health, and this was going on for months. Somehow within this, I could barely think, I could barely communicate. Somehow within this, I put together a treatment plan. I went through all the research science. I mean, I could barely read. I printed these things out. I could barely even read them, but somehow I put together a treatment plan. I started doing experiments on myself to try and deal with some of these things that the research science was saying. And yeah, I mean, it was incredibly intense. The doctors didn't want to help. They said, this is just like, these are kind of research hypotheses. You can't, like, we're not going to support you doing this. So I started to do these DIY experiments. The first one, I did this DIY anticoagulant experiment on myself. And some things worked, some things didn't. That blood clotting one did work, but it created this brutal detox in my body. So it was wild. I mean, it was so intense. By February last year, I really hit a crazy kind of rock bottom. I'd been profoundly sick for 6 months, trying desperately to fix myself somehow. And I hadn't been able to see anybody in person for months. Like, my nervous system couldn't tolerate it. I could barely communicate digitally to people. I couldn't understand my own experience, let alone communicate it to other people. Doing an online food shop was like a day's activity. Receiving one would be a day's activity. I could use my phone for 10 minutes on black and white mode. just so many things. Like some days I couldn't even wash myself. It was brutal. I was having to make these
And
like
I'm wondering, there's a lot of questions I'm having. What was your background? Like, were you previously working full time, supporting yourself? Like, how did you get through this period where you're completely out?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, before I was working full time, I was like very active, busy professional person. Yeah. And then at
Did
this
you have
point,
help or family? Like, who was helping you? Did anyone
yeah.
take
So,
you to?
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there was social security support, luckily, but I was subsisting, like I
Yeah.
didn't like, yeah, it was brutal. Um,
And what did doctors say who evaluated you? What did they tell you? Were there any solutions at all offered?
um, I mean, my GP was totally freaked out. She had no idea what to do. They were sending me to specialists, um, but none of them were getting to the root cause of what it was. There's like no joined up pathways, medical pathways for this. I think this was like what was so challenging. I was
Yeah.
so profoundly sick. Socially, nobody understands what long COVID is or like the experience that you're having. And medically, there are no pathways.
Yeah.
So even if I went to see doctors, whether it was a doctor I could see for 10 minutes or half an hour or an hour, I knew more than them because I was
Yeah.
reading all of this research
Yeah.
science.
This
But I
is
couldn't,
often the case where, like, a
yeah,
lot of new modalities come is from someone actually being sick or having someone they care for deeply being sick, that they'll explore, they'll look under every stone, they'll become open-minded and curious, they'll truly dig in a way, a lot of doctors are too busy for, or it's not their training to do it that way. Like you said, they're very skeptical of any of this because, hey, this is all experimental, which of course it was experimental because this had never happened before.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it's sometimes we have to be our own advocate, and that level of open-mindedness and curiosity and curious explorer is really what's needed to find,
yeah,
something new.
100%. But you don't have the energy to advocate for yourself.
No.
You don't have any energy at all. So it's like in your mind, you're seeing things, you're seeing how pathology is intersecting and like how you're figuring it out. But yeah, going to doctors was just it wasn't an option. I had like one curious consultant doctor who was helpful, but like she was like, yeah, I can do one symptom, and I had like 15 symptoms. So they're coming at it from this allopathic viewpoint of like treat symptoms. I was trying to get to the root cause of long COVID, like scientifically. But then, yeah, but then I came to your work and I found that maybe there's another way.
How did you find this work?
So, yeah, I think in the end, after like totally exhausting myself, hitting rock bottom, I realized that I had to find another route. So, like, I had some of the experiments had worked, but I was also like, I was just doing too many things and things I thought were innocuous, like a high dose supplement. But now I know why it was a bad idea. So I just got to a point where I'd kind of treated this blood clotting in my mind. I'd found a diet that was working. I'd got a good, very positive long COVID support group who were helping me. But I was like, okay, I need a different approach. Like I can't do this. I can't do this kind of all these experiments over and over. I've got to relax. Some things have worked. Okay, let's try and rebuild. So I was at kind of like 30% health at this point, and felt stable. Felt like there's this very slow trajectory I could go on. And then there was talk of like mind body medicine, like within the long COVID community, and so I started to explore it, and I did a meditation for chronic illness course, which really helped. And then in April, I think, yeah, I just decided to surrender. Um, Like I did like a Q1 review last year at the end of March, and I was literally like, okay, right, a new approach. I surrender. I lay on the floor of my apartment for like a week.
Hmm. Oh. Okay, where do you go? Where do you go? Where do you
And
go? Okay.
yeah, and then actually magical things to your work.
Okay. I just cut out for a minute. I don't know if I cut out or you cut out, but
I think
let me just
okay. Are we back?
All right. Sorry, guys. All right, we're back. So you said you had a Q1 review. You had found
Yeah.
my work.
Yes, exactly. And so yeah, so then I started to kind of to go into your work. So I found your tapping. Somebody shared a tapping video with me, and I found I saw that, and I'd been looking at other videos and other things, but I saw your tapping, started to go into your work, and then yeah, started to kind of receive it. So the iceberg, the symptoms for any chronic, serious chronic illness are just the tip of an iceberg. Below
Right.
the water is all of this emotional energy. If you can clear the emotional energy, your body can heal itself from anything. Clear enough intergenerational and societal conditioning and personal trauma and energy depleting behaviors, and your body can heal itself from anything. This was the message I was receiving from you. The body doesn't exist in time. Time is a construct of the mind. Clear enough energy, and the body can heal itself from anything. So this was the message that I got. What is mind body?
Oh. All right. I'm losing you a little in and out. I don't know if it's my connection or
Okay.
yours. Ellen, can you give me a heads up if you're aware of what that is? I am super eager to learn more. Like, what was this like for you once you registered for Embracing Health? First of all, what did you notice upon registration? Because a lot of times people have a lot of resistance come up just before they decide to make a major new choice and embark on something powerful. Was
Yeah.
there anything around that came up, and what happened when you registered?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had loads of hesitations before I signed up for sure. I mean, first of all, financially, I didn't have much money at the time. I'd spent my limited savings, like it was kind of 6 months, like 8 months, 10 months into being so ill. So I was really subsisting. How could I afford to make this significant investment? Some things I didn't understand. So I wanted to believe this theory that I was receiving from you, but I didn't totally understand it. I couldn't think very clearly. Body doesn't exist in time, clear emotional energy. How do I actually do that? I didn't cognitively totally understand it. And then um, there's part of me that thought maybe I can do this myself as well. So I thought, yeah, maybe I can put this all together myself. I can use your free videos, other resources. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. Don't need to spend the money. Yeah, part of me also wondered if it was going to disrupt what I felt was like this linear kind of recovery that I'd found, this like very, very incremental recovery. Will the work start to disrupt that? I don't want to lose that. Yeah. And then, yeah, and then parts of me was a bit kind of conscious. Is this too esoteric for normal society? Like I was open to it, but I didn't want to invest in it and then it not work. And then people think that that I was making weird choices.
Wow.
I mean, at the end of the day, I was really sick and very fearful. So I can really relate to anybody who's got hesitations because, yeah, I was scared. I'd been alone in my apartment basically for almost 10 months at this point, with like really like no professional help. So yeah, I don't know. It's a
How
really
did
challenging.
you get past those objections? Because those, you voiced those very well in a way. In fact, I've not quite heard them that way before. Like that, it's so esoteric. People are going to think I've fallen off. You know, I'm loony.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you find the strength to choose your inner knowing or the certainty of this over all those objections?
Well, yeah, partly I think I was just looking at you and I was thinking, this Dr. Kim Durano, I think she knows something.
Yeah.
I felt something. And your energy and your conviction and your vulnerability and your generosity, and you're here every week talking to everybody. I could feel like you've done this work with so many people.
Yeah.
And I
That's
could
good.
feel your conviction. And at the time, I didn't like, now I know that the theory is 1000% right. At the time, I didn't know. I couldn't really understand it. My brain was like so cloudy, but I looked at you and I felt, you know, something. And like, there's all of your resources. I was working through it all. I could feel your conviction. So in the end, I was umming and ahhing about it for ages, but I don't know. Somehow I trusted my intuition. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's the one power moment is the programming can eat everything. We have an inspired idea. We have the conviction to move toward our own expansion, our freedom, our well-being. And then the programming can come in and just like, nope, you can't do that. Oh, you don't have money. Oh, you can't do that. And we'll sometimes throw random stuff that's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
unique to you. So, okay, once you joined or just through the process, what was it like doing the work and what happened in your body? How did things move?
Yeah. So as soon as I signed up, yeah, I really felt held. So it was bumpy, but I really profoundly felt held suddenly within this container, that I'd not felt the whole way through this journey. I'd had like breadcrumbs of support, and so really, I felt held. Um, and I'd been going through this for 10 months, and I'd started to do mind body work. And I'd started to realize there could be something in it. I felt there was potential in it. But it also felt like it could destabilize me as well.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know how far to push it before joining the program. And I was doing stuff and things were happening. It was unnerving me. Suddenly I joined the program and have this amazing group of people who all come in with amazing stories, sharing their vulnerability. And just that group dynamic is very powerful. I'd never done any group work before. So that kind of blew me away, just doing this all together. Had the mentors like who were like looking after us like day to day, which was just like so wild that they've been through the program and were so like generous in leading us in the work. You have your awesome input all the time as well, and your what feels like a very unique approach. The recorded monthly inputs and monthly meditations and weekly check-ins, the online platform, all these extra resources that were there. Couldn't believe like how generous all the extra resources were. So you kind of came into the program and then suddenly it was like, wow, okay, I really feel held. Like this is going to be really powerful work. There's a group of people who are really motivated. This is what I've been looking for. Actually, these are people who like want to do this work and have a feeling for this work. So that's what it felt like to join the program and get into it. And then what happened, I guess, kind of breaks down into three parts for me, I think. So first of all, I recovered. So within 3 months, I witnessed disease resolution. So with the support of Embracing Health, I cleared a profound amount of emotional energy. It was a really challenging 3 months, a lot of work. Things got quite non-linear in my recovery. But somehow I cleared these three major emotional like densities from my system. And then the disease resolved almost overnight. So I went from being in my house for a year to being able to get on a bike and ride for an hour. It was unbelievable, and still surreal. And when I've been thinking about communicating this today, I've cried multiple times thinking that like this is what happened. The theory was totally right. I couldn't believe it, and it worked.
Me too.
So
Will you this is very powerful for me too. And it is a miracle when we open to that healing life force. I mean, it's who we are, it's what we are, it's what we're here for. But the level of closure we can have to it makes it so miraculous what happens when we open. What most people think is normal life is a profound level of disconnection. And so it's such a miracle to see, oh my gosh, my life changed. And some people will have major changes, not just in their body and their physical health, but their relationships, their job changing, and their home, all kinds of things. But the miracle is like how we could have actually lived in that level of closure that has us not in connection with this life force that is our intrinsic, innate nature. And so it's available. I just want to share this because it's not like, wow, this one-off miracle that you healed your body. This is our nature. This is available for every human being. And I want to hear about what were those three emotional densities, because what is the barrier? It's like when we finally process and digest that shame, or we finally let in and move through anger, or who knows what it could be. It's not nothing like I snapped my fingers and now I'm good. It's truly a process, but it's a process of clearing out what you're not. So I would love to hear about, if you would share some of what were those three emotional densities, and what was it like to move through them?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely challenging work to feel these things, to even think back about. I mean, so the program is an amazing container. I was reading other books. You also give us a reading list to work through. So there's things that you can work. So we're starting to do all of this emotional work. I mean, in a way, this is the kind of the end of a 10-year, the culmination of a 10-year journey in a way for me. But the kind of, the depth of what we were doing together as a group then just became very powerful. I mean, just like another level, like another level of, another dimension, basically. The three
I want to
things that,
insert, that's one of the big things why you're not going to do this on your own. Like, could you do it on your own? Well, sure. Do you currently have the power and strength in your own system to do it? For most people, that is a huge capital N, capital O no,
yeah,
because the level of courage, clarity, compassion you would need to embrace to easily move through these densities, or just to even not so easily move through, successfully move through these densities, is massive. And we are accessing another dimension of compassion, courage, clarity, and the strength to move through these with grace. But I didn't want to interrupt you, but I did want to
yeah.
insert that.
No, I mean, but like to that point, you can do this work. You can try and do this work by yourself, but it's potentially, I think, really destabilizing if you're really going really far without guidance. And if you can start to really do this powerful work by yourself, I think it's challenging. You could do it one-on-one with somebody maybe, but just like having this group dynamic was so powerful, because you are starting to everything that everybody's talking about is clearing energy for you somehow. Then you have the mentors, then you have your approach, which is totally unique, I think. But the things that I was clearing, so yeah, one was profound intergenerational conditioning that was really at the bottom of my soul. Yeah, I got down to that, and I mean, I cried for 3 days, where I had this like insight about some very deep intergenerational conditioning. The second thing was like personal trauma from my childhood. So I cleared this major thing initially, and then suddenly I could jump on my bike, I could cycle for an hour. It was unbelievable. Then I thought, okay, great, I think this is over. Then that kind of created space for things that I'd been suppressing to then come up. And I saw these like personal traumas come up, which there is a lot of shame associated to. And for 2 weeks then I was again like, couldn't leave my house. I was like processing this shame. And then following that, a lot of anger and shadow. I was like reading about Jungian shadow work and getting into anger. And again, it was kind of intergenerational conditioning. And so after those three things, then I really witnessed this disease resolution. And I think by that point, I developed a profound connection to my intuition, and I could just ask my intuition, has the disease resolved? And it would say, yes, the disease is resolved. And that, I mean, that's then a crazy trip in itself. So that was then this recovery phase. Should I go on? Then I had this kind of reconditioning phase after that. So suddenly, like, I'd been in my house by myself for a year, like my body was frail, my mind had all of these safety scripts about that was keeping me safe, that had kept me kind of alive, but then limited me a lot, like going out into the world. So I had to then recondition my body, I had to recondition my mind. The nervous system was challenged by going out into the world, especially because it was such a stark difference from being sick to just not being sick. So embracing health really supported me through this phase as well, to have the courage to build up my body, to really calm these powerful anxiety scripts that are in my mind. And there were moments where my nervous system just shut me down, because it was like, no, you can't do this. Like, you're sick. Like, the change was just so dramatic that there were just these like moments where the nervous system just shut down. Like, I think I was out in the world again, and I got picked up a bug, for example, because I was back within people, and then somehow my body kind of shut me down into like what I'd had before. And so embracing health really helped me work through this reconditioning phase. So that was probably another 3 months. And then there was this kind of then a reintegration phase. So I guess the last 6 months this year have been about going out into the world, realizing my purpose, finding my place back in the world again. And helping me profoundly with that,
Oh my gosh, this is so well said. One of the reasons I designed the course how I did was because we saw this reverberation. The ego really wants, oh, good, I'm there. Phew, I'm done. But it's not actually willing to complete whatever may still be incomplete. And it's beautiful how you shared, like, you cleared that first stage of the old conditioning, whatever that was about. And then like, whoa, I've got energy. I'm going to ride my bike. But it wasn't your process was still in place. And then that next level of like the shame and the childhood trauma, and then there's more energy, and then the shadow stuff. And one of the things about that is we keep regaining more energy, but then yes, we've got to resolve the programming that says, oh wait, no, remember, you can't go out in the world and just have at it and just endlessly bike. You've got to be careful. And then that programming, maybe it was there to keep us safe and take care of us with years of being sick. It's not helpful. It's not needed, but we can't overpower it. Like if you try to do that, it's going to win. But you can shift it. You can let those systems let go and let that programming go and function in a new way. Hey, I'm in my power. My body's regenerating. I'm not in that old system trying to overcome the shame and work within the construct of that generational belief system. And that's why the illness is a gift. It's actually here to show you where you're holding on to old paradigms that are not yours, that are not healthy, that are not going to create what you're really here to create, this new world where we live in freedom and we share from authentic expression. We can't live the programmings anymore. And one of the things with Embracing Health is it's a lifetime membership. So you might have those reverberations in the first 3 months, and then the next few months you're in your integration phase, and then you're like, hey, the last quarter of the program you're like, oh, this is just cool learning. But sometimes there's more, and until we learn, oh, this is just how I live in connection with my body. Is there anything else you need from me now? Is there anything else I need to let go of? Not from oh God, please tell me it's over already, but from we're co-creating. I'm in collaboration with my body. Is there anything else I need to pay attention to? Is there anything else I need to let go of? Because it's serving me not just to heal a disease, but to live my life to the fullest. So obviously you've got your lifetime access. What would you say to someone evaluating this about the value of that, and the value of living your life from this new foundation?
Yeah, I mean, we're still all learning in the program now. I mean, it's coming to an end, but yeah, like I witnessed this disease resolution in August last year, and I'm still benefiting exponentially as I grow all the time through the program. So yeah, so having that access is incredible. You're always updating, year on year the program. So yeah, I mean, I honestly couldn't believe all the extras that were included, and I was cynical about it. Like when I was before I'd signed up, and I was like, how can there be so much stuff? But yeah, one of your tools that was just in a random folder really helped me in the last 2 weeks going through some challenges. So yeah, there's so much value in all of it. And you said to us in the first session that we had, this isn't, you may be sick now, but this isn't about just your health. Yeah, and now I really kind of experience having repatterned my whole nervous system towards joy and creativity and fluidity. It's wild. It's like unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So yeah.
Are there any other things that have happened in your life along the lines of that joy and expansion?
Yes, I mean, like I like experience like wild synchronicities like on a daily basis. Like I really feel, because obviously this theory is if you clear this emotional density, your body can heal itself because it has much more energy to heal itself. And then when you're better, your body just has much more energy, and you're like much more connected to do your whole life. So things just start to come to you. It is bizarre how things just start to come, and because of the work that you're doing, where you're, I think one of the things you're saying to us is like, what is all of this suffering worth? When you get into like, what is all of this suffering worth? What is my like trajectory? Like, where am I going? Like, what is my purpose? When you start to really think about that as like fuel to recover, by the time you've recovered, then you're just like going in this amazing direction. So yeah, it's like doctors or practitioners would come, and people would show up, and like work just came like without even trying. It honestly was, I mean, it's spooky. But you're just somehow opening yourself up to receive all of these things. But it is just so joyful, like to like repattern oneself to like receive all of that, you know.
Do you think that the trajectory of your life from here, as far as like who you are in the world, what you're going to do with yourself, what you're going to create, will be significantly different as a result of having had this journey?
Yes, definitely. This is the culmination of, I think, like 10 years work in a way. So psychology work, spiritual work, life transition. But this has been a profound catalyst. Even just being sick and then doing this program has been a profound catalyst for committing to like a radical new trajectory in my life. 100%. Yeah. And yeah, this is profound, like world changing work that we're doing. Yeah, it's difficult to articulate, but
You have done such a great job sharing, such a great job. Thank you so much for coming forward. So much of what you said was so well said, and I think stated in a way that a lot of people will hear, especially the part about, wow, this is like so esoteric, or is this, should I even do this? Um, I'm so versed in it that it's helpful to appreciate the perspective of how people may be thinking about this, and what might assist them in having this ground, having a feeling and knowing this is for them. If you guys have any more questions for Simon, he's in the Mind Body community. We'll stay on for a few more minutes that you can ask them. We have a lot of love coming your way. Simon, Laura Lee saying thank you, and Amy saying, I'm receiving so much from this share. Patty, I think we answered that too, about so much of the past stuff that came up, that was to be resorted. Sometimes we have like old conclusions that we're carrying. Janet, thank you. Heidi, I'm so inspired listening to you and hearing your experience. Jennifer, so thank you guys for being here and being such a good receiver. And the program is open for those who want to register. It's at drkimd.com/health. You can look over the page, feel it out, let our team know if you have any questions. Claudster said, one of the most profound Mind Body Miracles interview ever. I agree. It was so powerful. Christine said, Simon's story clearly demonstrates how we can get stuck trying to bypass the psychological aspect of healing by focusing only on the attempts at healing on the physical level. Really was presented in an impactful way I could relate to so well. Thank you. Follow your heart. How difficult. This is great. How difficult is it to release old patterns now as opposed to before you started the program? Thank you, Heather.
It's still challenging. We're still going around in loops, I think. And so I've witnessed that in the last month. I flew back in, like this year. I've been able to work, and I flew back into doing work, full of purpose. But then witnessing some of my old patterns emerging again. So, but my ability to spot it, work through it, release it, and move on is like just a million times better than it was. So I mean, like in a profound way. So yeah, so it's the old patterns I can still see, but I can see the life that I want with much more strength. And so I know where I want to go, and intuitively I have a much stronger and subtler connection to my own intuition about what way I should be going. So when old patterns that don't serve me are coming up, somehow my intuition can point me in different directions. So that's a great question. I'm definitely experiencing that in the last weeks, but I'm in a much stronger position now.
Yeah, I think that's the million-dollar question. When you do something that gives you a lifelong ability to move through life with greater grace, fluidity, creatorship, consciousness. That's like the gift that keeps on giving. And I would say that's one of the biggest. Yes, you get your life back, you get your health back, and I think the bigger gift is you start doing life in a whole new way. And kind of like you said, like you know, this illness necessitated that you got a major revamp of your whole inner energy foundation. And you may not have know, for myself personally, there's so many things I wouldn't have done unless the problem was big enough that there's no way I could keep managing it in that old foundation. I wouldn't have bothered to go to the trouble to do that depth of work. But then, like, what's the payoff is like infinite payoff going forward, that now your energy is going into, you know, creating your life and creating the synchronicities of like who you meet, who you cross paths with, ideas you think of, what you create, who you become in the world. We're certainly excited to see what you do going forward, who you become. So keep us posted. Let us see you. And thank you. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you want to share?
No, just thank you very much, Kim, for all of your work, passion, vision. Yeah, it's totally life-changing and life-saving, and then life-changing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here for MindBody TV with Simon. That was so beautiful. You can see this is a glowing being. I see people change even when we do the work in the live calls. You'll see, even if you don't really see energy, you can see like the physical changes, that someone just looks different. They're beautiful and glowing. And when we move the energy, for all of us, there's beauty in us that shines through. And it's not just about physical health, it's a radiance. That's how we're meant to show up in the world. And so if there's anything missing in your life, it really is only a reflection of more of you that's ready to show up, whether it's your money, or I don't have enough time, or I'm just living in overwhelm, I don't even have time to think about this stuff, or a life debilitating illness, which sometimes is what happens. You are invited to join us for the Embracing Health program. The link is at drkimd.com/health. Doors are open right now. And if you're registering this week, before the 9th, which is tomorrow. So if you register by today, by tomorrow morning, you're invited to join us for a live kickoff call we're doing. It's a bonus front end extra small group call that we're doing to get the energy moving. You'll have more of my one-on-one assistance in that group before the bigger group comes in June. You'll also begin the work right now and have our mentors who are in the online community begin to assist you with whatever it is that's coming up for you. So you are welcome to join today if it's resonating for you, and you'll be with us for the kickoff call. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll start the deep work together. The workshop, for those who still have a lot of questions, is next week. It's on the 16th, drkimd.com/workshop. If you'd like to get a deeper gist of like, what is this talking about? You know, what's mind body medicine? Is this for me? And you still have further questions to answer, join us for the workshop. Do you want to add anything, Simon, about the group calls and what it might be like for people to be there on this smaller group live call tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the group calls have, I think that's just a powerful place to be able to connect to other people, and always viewing other people's stories somehow touches you really deeply. I didn't expect that. Before the program, I didn't know how that would work. But everybody sharing their stories really, really, really helps you to start to move your energy. So, so the calls are always really good to be on.
Yeah. And we'll do the integrative work right there in the call, which is really what's so powerful. Is it's someone else's system and story or whatever, but you're like feeling it move in your system and in your body, even if you're not the one on the hot seat. So these are really, really powerful integrative calls. So does Simon react differently when anything physical comes up? Do you want to speak to that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm much calmer about any physical challenges much more patient, and in general feel like everything is here to serve me in a way. So whatever I'm going through, um, like I pulled my Achilles heel, like when I could start running again, and I pulled my Achilles tendon like 6 months ago. I'm still trying to fix it, but it's led me to this like really cool alignment doctor, like physio guy. And so now I'm just kind of like, well, it's resolving and it's just leading me in certain directions. So I think just much more peaceful about things and trusting that everything's leading me for a reason. So
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing too, is being in more connection with your physical body. When stuff comes up physically, it doesn't have to be scary and you have to go into separation and fear to handle it. You can stay connected and ignite that healing. All right. Well, thank you guys. I love you. We're here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Mountain for MindBody TV. We have another of our Mind Body Miracles series next week. So stay tuned for that. You can email our team at support@drkimd.com if there are questions about joining Embracing Health, about what the possibilities are, about your particular situation. And if you're ready to join, it's at drkimd.com/health. And we have so many people who've already joined that I'm really excited to have for tomorrow in our live group call. Thank you guys all so much. And I'll see you next week. Thank you, Simon.